I think you measure love in the amount of sacrifice you're willing to make for another person. That wasn't an argument for or against the total position of abortion. That was an argument against somebody saying that if a fetus is treated as a human, we would still say we could execute it because it's using our blood without our consent.
Your thoughts on the role of the USA supporting Israel?
Wait, should we be able to kill people that like live in the forest alone or that don't have any friends or family? Hello, hello?
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up, man? So do you want me to like introduce kind of what we're doing here or no?
Yeah, go for it. Knock us out.
So I'm with or I'm a student at the University of Arizona, and I wanted to do like a little thing or a little paper on the Twitch community. So I thought that Destiny would be like the perfect person to talk to, actually. So
Okay.
yeah, thanks for the opportunity, by the way. I really do appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem.
So you just want to start with the questions then?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, like to start us off, what goes through your mind while you stream?
I mean, it depends on what we're streaming about.
Yawners.
Right? If I'm playing games,
yeah.
I'm usually thinking about the games. If we're doing politics, I'm usually thinking about the politics, but I'm usually trying to weigh whatever I'm doing on screen at the time with the person that I'm talking to, and then with the reactions of the chat.
How do the reactions of the chat factor into your stream?
It just kind of informs me of like this is content that people either really like or really don't like, or if I see like a certain sentiment, it might be something worth addressing. So for instance, if people in chat are saying a bunch of things I disagree with, I might speak to why I disagree with it. If a bunch of people in chat are saying things that I agree with, it's just good to know, to have an idea of like what my community thinks about things. Like, yeah.
So do you gear your content towards like entertaining your community then?
I wouldn't say I specifically gear it towards that, but I definitely keep it in mind.
Okay. How does streaming differ from when you play off air, like play games?
I mean, I'd say it differs a great deal, but I don't really play games off air that much anymore.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, because I figure if I'm playing, I might as well be like making money, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
There haven't been any games where like your stream will enjoy it, but you just want to play it yourself?
Nah, I usually just stream it anyway. Fuck them.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Why do you think makes Twitch so popular for people besides the other streaming platforms?
I'd say there's two parts. I think the two-way element of it, so the fact that when you talk to a streamer, the streamer can talk back to you, and then I think the community aspect of it, where you get to see like other people, where you get to see like other. Oh,
sorry.
Oh, where you get to see like where you can see other people like in a chat with you while you're watching something. I think both those things are fun for people. Yeah.
I feel like the Twitch community itself kind of like gears itself towards like communicating with each other, where it's like other platforms just have streaming on the off side and they're not really focused towards it.
Yeah.
Especially with these new other platforms coming up, they're just a late start.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the whole other platforms trying to get a little bit in there?
I think it's good. The more competition, the better for the streamers and the better for the viewers. So yeah, I would say it's definitely a good thing.
So you think all the recent news has scared Twitch a little bit, maybe?
It's hard to say, but I mean, I hope so. But yeah.
No, it'd be good for the streamers, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think the viewers may favor watching over playing games?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the community aspect of it is important. So, like, I think that people really enjoy, like, being able to do it with a whole bunch of other people while not necessarily having to play. I think that's a really big thing for a lot of people.
And I guess the next question is, how has your relationship with your viewers changed over time? Like, have you noticed anything big, maybe?
No, I think it's pretty much the same as it always has been. Like, I'm pretty close with, I think, my viewership compared to most streamers. Yeah. And I think it's been more or less the same, yeah.
Has there been any, like, big, like, memories you have of your entire streaming career, maybe? Like, big points that you might just remember fondly of?
I mean, I really enjoy, like, a lot of the big debates that I've had. So, like, debates with, like, JonTron or, like, Nick Fuentes. I really enjoy, like, playing games in general. So, like, a lot of fun games that I've played, it's been fun to do that. Although, I guess I don't know if those would be stream memories or just, like, gaming memories. But, yeah, I think most of the, like, the big things are probably going to revolve around, like, political stuff.
So that's just, like, those big debates that you had that just turned out to be huge memes, you just kind of appreciated them a lot more?
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. It was fun for me.
Yeah, okay. Alright. Well, yeah, that's perfect. Where do you think the Twitch community is going to go in the future then?
It's impossible to say. I mean, I hope it continues to grow. It seems like it's been growing and growing. The industry as a whole is. And then we'll see how Twitch grows, I guess, with these other companies trying to like make a gun for some of Twitch's largest members.
Yeah. I'm just looking at YouTube Gaming right now because they might be making some big moves recently. I'm not sure. There was also the COPPA Act that happened recently, so they might be a little bit out of touch right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate all your time actually. Is there anything else you wanted to like touch on, like your streaming, that you think might be, important to the gaming community?
I don't think so that I can think of. Yeah.
All right. Well, I really do appreciate your time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks a lot, buddy. I love you. Peace out.
Love you too. Peace.
Hit me up. What do you got?
Oh yeah, one's like a softball, and the other one's you might find it boring or whatever. But I just saw a VOD of you talk to that Fuentes guy on I think it was the Scuffed Podcast.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, do you ever like speak to other content creators about sort of being careful with these people that you would like think are good candidates for like deplatforming?
Yeah, all the time, for sure.
I just didn't know if that's something that you'd.
Yeah, that podcast was an unmitigated disaster. I should have done it on my own. Yeah. But I encouraged Train to do that, so that's not really Train's fault. That one was on me.
Yeah. I guess like nowadays you kind of have the problem with Mike from PA. Would you consider him someone that, I know he lies like all the fucking time, but would you consider him someone that you'd want to see deplatform?
My standard for deplatforming people is when I feel like they're engaging in ideas, either deliberately in bad faith or with gross negligence. And I think that Mike fits that standard, so yeah, fuck him.
Okay, I guess that's all I really wanted to know about that. I really think that a lot of content creators, or I guess whatever streamers consider themselves,
Yeah.
I really feel like they just don't take responsibility for either their community or the kinds of ideas they have. Like obviously, like I know this is a long time ago, but like the fact that like PewDiePie has someone like Ben Shapiro, host his meme show,
pretty dumb. Yeah, for sure.
I really don't like to see stuff like that. I was just wondering, how do you think your music education informed your taste in music?
I don't know if it did much at all. I try not to let that like be a thing. I think it lets me appreciate some things about certain types of music more. I don't have like I don't take like an educational a view of like my hobbies. Like it's usually like these are things that I like because I like them, and then that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm the exact same way. I'm actually also a music school dropout.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, it's definitely possible that you can get like, you can be really stupid about getting like super haughty about like your musical whatever. Like because I understand music, I listen to like the best blah blah blah. But like, I mean, I enjoy all types of music, whether it's simple or shit or whatever. Like I think, yeah, I wouldn't try to let like, I think it's silly when people let an educational background prevent them from enjoying things. Like it seems like the total opposite of what you'd want to do.
Yeah. Did you have people just like constantly like name drop composers on you and shit all the time?
In music school?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, depending on who you would talk to. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In the weirdly, there were like two orchestras. There was like the one for the actual school, and then like the hobby orchestra. And this happened to be in the hobby orchestra like all the fucking time. It was awful.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason I think I switched to a different major.
Sure. I knew like 2 kids. No. I knew like 4 or 5 kids in my music school that were fucking loved music, and I loved them for it. But the rest of it kind of felt like a club to me. Like people were just there because it was like cool, and music was cool, and it was like the club to be in, and that was kind of it. It felt really weird.
Yeah, like all these really talented people just kind of seemed like, I don't know, like it was a little depressing to me to have like these insanely talented people just sort of be like, oh, this is just sort of like my field or whatever. Like it didn't really seem like there was a lot of passion there.
Yeah, I got that a lot, man. Especially like, well, fuck, maybe am I gatekeeping now? I skipped 2 semesters of music theory because I took in high school there's AP classes for music theory 1 and 2. I don't know why, but like I was able to go right into classes for my theory classes with some sophomores and juniors, and there were juniors that couldn't answer like very basic music questions. like how many sharps are in a D scale, or what's the root of an A minor chord. Like vocal majors that wouldn't know the answer to these questions. Like, what the fuck? What are you doing here? You've been in music school for 3 years. These are grade school level questions. Like, what in the fuck?
Yeah, but I feel like that depends a little bit on like the kind of, because like the performance majors and especially the vocal majors don't know fuck all. Like they just look at the sheet music and they just go like, okay, this finger just goes here.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is you want this to be your life. Like, you should take it a little seriously, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know. Like throughout high school, that was basically me. It was just like, okay, the pieces in like whatever. Just make sure that you go down the half position for F sharps or whatever, or for A flats or what the fuck. But, yeah.
A half position. Wait, are you a string player or trombone player? Or...
I'm a double bass player. I'm a string player.
String player. Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the questions, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the experiences and stuff.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one, mate.
You too.
It's all good. So I'm curious. I've been lurking for a while, and yeah. So I'm thinking, what do you think about patents and copyright?
Fuck intellectual property copyright in most things. I think that IP laws and shit should exist, but I think that they should be severely curbed for entertainment-related stuff. For things like pharmaceuticals, it's probably good, and for things that require like a huge like investment to like recoup costs, is probably good. But for things like entertainment, I think it should be dramatically scaled back.
Yeah. Have you heard the whole like who was it? I thought I heard something about like Disney. Basically, like being solely responsible for extending.
Yeah, they keep extending it to hold the Mickey Mouse copyright or some bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we're like stuck forever with like the first popular cartoon being like the age of copyright.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wacky, but yeah, I kind of agree with that. And it's sort of it's one of the things because like capitalism, you know, it's great stuff, but definitely some issues there, and this is something that can be like really easily, obviously, with patent trolling and shit like that. So really, but yeah, I had some. Oh yeah, globalism. So you've been talking quite a bit about trade, international trade agreements, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, what do you think about the ideas like no borders, for example?
What do I think about no borders? I'm generally in favor of it. I think it's good economically, and then people should be better with their culture.
Yeah, but like how would I don't know, how do you think society could be structured? Because obviously we have like thousands of warring factions that all want, you know, maximum control of their local shit. But I guess no borders would sort of void that kind of.
Well, I mean, like, you can still have, like, you'd have borders, but I think that, like, free movement should be, like, a pretty big thing. We should allow people to sort themselves out where they want to go.
Yeah, totally. Because obviously you have, like, my girlfriend, for example, she's been really, she's sort of environmentalist. Like, you actually turned me vegan. Thanks for that.
Oh, nice.
Or I guess, like, your debates and stuff. But yeah, my girlfriend, she's really concerned about like about, you know, ethical food and ethical like clothing and you know, ethical shit in general.
That's cool.
And all of it, it's always like somebody being abused on the other side of the world. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah. So one other thing, how much have you looked into nuclear power as like the best thing ever?
A little bit, but I don't know. I go back and forth on it. I'm not sure right now.
Oh, you want to be convinced?
Yeah, sure. Convince me. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I might not be able to, but it really looks like everything I've looked into, and I've looked into it a fair bit. Everything really points towards nuclear power being totally the thing, because like, so you obviously have like we have a bunch of energy we're sitting on, which is just like stored solar energy, which is just stuck in like dead animals and shit. And you know, we're pumping it up, and it's gonna run out, obviously. Great energy density, not nearly as good as nuclear power. So the alternatives really are, because obviously it's going to run out eventually, and if it's not gonna kill us in the meantime, it's gonna, yeah, it's bad. So we can either use the sun through renewables, which have like so many problems. They always require huge amounts of or like not infrastructure, but like they require basically huge projects just to build, like a giant windmill or a giant, these hydroelectric dams that like consume hundreds of people because there's so much concrete being poured that you just, like they're messy.
Basically,
they're messy.
nuclear power is good or bad? Where do we get in it?
Oh yeah. So nuclear is good because it really isn't that dangerous. Like I don't know. Have you seen Chernobyl, for example?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great show. You like it?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. It unfortunately is like a blow to the PR of nuclear because like if you just account, like for example, if you just take like a whole total death toll per kilowatt hour produced of all energy sources, nuclear is like way down there. It's like 1/10 of the second contender or something.
Okay.
And which is obviously great. If you only look at how much like radiation has been poured into the atmosphere, coal is like easily like 10 or 100 times more than nuclear.
Okay.
Because there's some radiation stuck in the coal, so it just like, and we just burn so much of it. Is that, yeah. So like the irony is that nuclear power plants, they are regulated so heavily on like pollution, radioactive pollution, that and nobody's thinking about it with coal. So coal can easily just like dump a ton of radiation into the air, while nuclear cannot. But then, like, the most commonly considered issue is radiation and then nuclear waste. But the great thing is we have initiatives, for example, TerraPower, which is funded by Bill Gates, for example. They are basically trying to they're trying to recycle nuclear fuel, because like you probably heard that we have like a stockpile that's basically building up. Yeah. So the great thing about that is that I'm not going to go into the detail of like how you get power out of uranium, but basically this stuff that's super radioactive, it has all the potential fissile energy left in it. And like we just use like 0.4% of the actual like potentially fissile. We just use the easily fissile material. We don't use all the fissile material.
Yeah, depending on the type of reactions you use, sure.
Yeah, and like they're obviously more expensive. The methods that are more efficient, but we are sort of with this climate crisis and all, we might sort of want to consider them anyways.
I am probably
and then there's also
thorium,
which is a whole other thing.
Nuclear and against solar,
might be
I don't
actually
think
like
you.
the best solution.
Can unironically make
but
the
it's
argument
it's a
that
kind of a
solar
cult around
requires
thorium.
cumbersome.
I would definitely look into it, because there's really nothing. There's nothing more promising at all that can that I've heard of, at least.
Okay, I'll look into it more. Okay.
Yeah, and there's one last thing. Have you heard about universalism versus particularism in regards to like philosophy?
Nope. What about it?
I heard this interesting debate. This is like loosely related to veganism, so stop me if I'm
sure.
If you so the idea is that a universalist, it's like a scale basically. So like the more universalist you are, the more your axioms universally apply to everything you do, basically, and like the more foundational they are, I suppose.
Okay.
And the more particularist you are, the more sort of like an example of a particularist. I would say that like eating meat is kind of a particularist stance, because you sort of well, it really depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, because you're not universally applying principles of like moral consideration to like animals and humans or something. Yeah.
Yeah, for example, and And so, but I am curious, like, would you, like, how much in favor of veganism are you?
I mean, it's probably pretty good for environmental reasons. In that direction is good. Like eating less meat is probably good for health reasons. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah, but like,
we have a lot of people. I have to start being an
Yeah.
asshole. I haven't.
Yeah, no, hey,
thank you,
don't worry
Hudson,
about it.
for coming in. It's been nice.
Wait,
have
let
a
him
good
finish
one.
his point. Let him finish his point.
No, you're in.
Yeah, there was nothing there. There was nothing there.
Oh.
Hey, thanks for the chat, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, I love you, buddy.
All right.
Meat Boy.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Name, rank, and
up?
question.
Tier 1 sub. So like a couple weeks ago, I think it was, Charlie Kirk was doing like that culture war tour among college campuses.
Yeah.
And I think it went like pretty bad for him. I was just wondering if you had any particular explanation for why you think neocons have like such a bad time dealing with talking points that Fuentes has used.
Well, because neocons flirt dangerously close to a lot of them, and in some ways, some people might say that like alt-right shit is kind of the fulfillment of like the inevitability of conservatism or the conservative ideologies, maybe.
Yeah, it certainly does feel a lot more consistent than regular republicanism does. Do you think there's any good neocon arguments against I guess like they're like Nazi talking points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the pretty solidly, like the one Fuentes has used, like the anti-Israel, like USS Liberty shit.
Sure. What about it?
Do you think there are any good neocon arguments against them?
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, you can like speak to the facts that like American troops don't die for Israel and shit like that. Like, I mean, you can always do stuff like that, but I mean, it's gonna be pretty hard when, yeah. Like, the thing is that, like, when you start talking about how, like, all the news is fake and, like, there's, like, secret overlords that, like, control all of society and they're Democrats, blah, 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 like, I mean, like, Democrats or Republicans kind of walk you, like, right to the gate of the alt-right and then are kind of surprised that some people open the door, you know? I don't know, like...
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Another question I had,
Go, one more, go hard. Hurry up before Dan kicks you out.
what do you think about Rem's talk with Claudia Brown on Twitter?
I mean, Claudia Brown got pretty fucking mad about it, because apparently she has, like, personal experience. I didn't look at all of Rem's talks. I didn't see if, like, Rem went, like, full dick mode or not. I don't know. That's I don't know. I didn't, like, watch all of it. Do you think Rem was, like, super harsh? What do you think?
I didn't watch all of it either. He tweeted out, like, a fuck ton of shit.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed really harsh on her. There was one specific claim he made, where he said if you're like attracted or masturbate to like lolicon, then it's the same as like child pornography, and you should like go seek out a therapist.
Rem said that?
Yeah, he tweeted that out. I don't have like the tweet on hand, but I remember seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's like accurate?
I would say that lolicon flirts with pedophilia pretty hardcore. If you find that you're, by definition almost, if you find that you're sexually attracted to people that look prepubescent, like that's what a pedophile is. If lolicon like gets you like really aroused, then I mean, yeah, in some ways it's a little bit pedophilic, yeah.
Would you be okay with saying the same thing about like furries, that they're like dangerously close to bestiality?
Furries are anthropomorphized quite a bit, like they look human-like. So I don't know if I would make the same stretch, but even if I did, I don't give a fuck. If people want to fuck animals, I think that's fine.
Okay.
We already
yeah,
like
that
torture
makes
and
sense.
murder them and own them as slaves and shit. I don't think fucking them is like a big like stretch in a horrible direction. I think that's kind of crazy. That's a meat eater argument.
Hey, my name is Tibbets. I'm a tier 1, and I was just wondering, Destiny, what your definition of love was.
I don't know. In my opinion, love is probably when you're willing to make like I think you measure love in the amount of sacrifice you're willing to make for another person.
Okay, because I have my own definition that is going to lead into my kind of practice.
Wait, you know what love is, real quick? Better definition.
I don't think
love is when people like Erko gift 10 subs to the stream. Thank you. Or LRCO. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. I love you. I don't know if I said thanks to that. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, I'm a math major and econ minor, and I like to create stuff. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create my own like economic theory. It's gonna take some practice, but the basis of it is gonna be philosophy, and
it's a good place to start. Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to read you like so this is a perfect utopia, and so in this utopia, the definition of honesty is pretty much how I define love.
Okay.
So if you have two individuals that lie to each other, then the society is ruined.
Okay.
And so like I have
This
like
game
I
is
mean
not
like
realistic.
so
There's not enough black
this
people
definition
to
is the very
fulfill
base of
the
our
racial
and foundation of our
quotas.
society. If all else was lost, this is what we treasure the most. Honesty is defined completely within our interactions and communication with others. We've been raised to never tell a lie. Telling lies implies that there is a part of us that we don't want to communicate with others. Say one day you're sad and you have this little bit of sadness that follows you despite you forgetting it sometimes. What if you express the sadness but non-verbally? No one else can ever hear your issues. Then only you have the ability to reflect on these feelings. Therefore, if an individual is sad about a thought that they have, they verbally have to tell someone else what it is that they're sad about, and then reciprocation, you know?
Okay.
And so basically, I mean, I'm just starting, like, I'm gonna have to do a lot of work with this, but like, that's just where I want to start with the definition of love, is complete honesty with oneself
Weird
about
champ.
your own feelings, and then to another person. That's how I define love, I guess.
Okay. Cool.
And I mean, like, and I also claim that in my paper, I want to claim that you can't live by yourself. Emotionally, it's hard. And I mean, I feel like we can agree on this. To like a more general standpoint, it's very hard emotionally to just live by yourself.
Sure.
I just wanted to know like what you define as love. But...
Yeah. Okay. Well, interesting.
And then just one more point, because I do like economics.
But he likes economics, Dan.
Come on.
He wasted his question on what love was. Quick, what tier sub are you?
Oh, 1 times 1 times 1 times 1.
Tell you what, if you want to go ahead and promise to upgrade to a tier 2 sub after this, I'll let you get your next question in.
Just answer your next question quick. Just do it. Go.
All right. So within this economic model of mine, I basically, since people do lie in our current system, in order to develop a new perfect system, we have to have the people who have the most wealth and power, which are pretty much the 1% people. We need them to be completely honest with each other. So we need the majority of people in those positions to work with the government and vice versa. And then I want to look more into trickle economics. I don't know what you think of it, which is like tax cuts, but that's not really what I want to get towards. I want to get towards kind of like, I mean, like if you even look at Star Wars, like Padawan chips, you know, like you have a master and a Padawan, and like make that kind of like develop that idea of you have the 1%. Well, how'd they get there? Because they're so freaking smart. So they have to, like, question marks, but they have to kind of. And I mean, the basis of the society is everyone has the same opportunity and the ability to gain an education. And so, like, today you have people that would believe, like, that healthcare is a necessity, you know?
Okay.
But, like, so, and we already believe, like, foundationally that education is a necessity because we have public schools that, like, funded by our government, right?
Yeah.
So, therefore, wouldn't you say that nutrition must be a guarantee?
I don't know how you would guarantee nutrition, but okay.
Well, because education and healthcare are what keep us alive, right? And as a society, most of us want to argue that these things are something that we should be guaranteed as an opportunity, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Off of that, I guess what our intentionality is we want education and healthcare to be guaranteed. Therefore, could we conclude that nutrition should also be something that we guarantee? I'm not tanky. And so kind of to ride off of this.
Nope. Next. Mr. Me, rank and occupation, please.
Dan, you just ejected him?
I'm sorry. He fucking was trying to segue into a third question. He even promised a tier 2.
I'm Mr. Me, and I am incredibly inquisitive.
Okay.
So I was gonna ask, do you think that you give enough charity to people or not enough charity to people?
I think I give a great deal of charity to people.
Yeah.
Some people can exhaust their charity for sure, though. So like people like Mike and Hassan, I don't grant very much charity to anymore.
Yeah. Do you think like on a certain level, like if you repeatedly lie, you're gonna just completely lose all charity with you, or do you think there's still a level of charity that you give?
I mean, I try to see things what they are, but if you lie a lot, obviously you're losing like a lot of like charitability that I'm gonna, for sure.
Yeah. Like, for example, I would say like a lot of people use the argument I'm saying here against Emmy, right? Because apparently she lied before a lot in the past, right? And then, but you still give her a lot of charity, as do I, right? Because it's your first interaction with her and things
Yeah,
like
I don't
that,
know
right?
how much they necessarily lied in the past. I know they did a lot of shitty things in the past, sure. But like, yeah, I mean, like recently, how somebody's acting will determine like how I evaluate their actions and everything too, sure.
Okay. Thank you, Destiny, and thank you, Dan, for the Haas stream.
Okay.
That is an outstanding example of how to come in and ask your question and leave all at once. Outstanding.
Thank you very much. Let me just mute the stream. So on the 26th of what was it? October, you were this was right after the incident with Quarantine, and you were talking to Bastiat for the first time. And after that shit show, you were talking specifically about Putin and Russia, and I think
Good
a
luck,
lot of
thumbs
what you
up.
said was just patently false.
Stuff that I said?
Yes.
Okay, like what?
The primary point of your argument was that Putin was like very successful in his government, and that he is like a mastermind. I think that's one of the words you used. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, so I don't know if Putin's government has been successful per se. I don't know what indicators I would look at to know that. Putin does appear to be very intelligent to me, though, at least in comparison to Trump. When I listen to Putin talk about like foreign policy, it seems like he knows a lot of things.
That's a pretty low bar, though.
It
in comparison
is,
to Trump.
but like, fuck, I wish I could remember. There was like an hour thing in a room. I feel like when I listen to most leaders talk about foreign policy, they don't, like, they seem like they're talking to the people, and everything seems like really dumbed down. There was a speech, or there was a conversation, or a council, or whatever, where Putin was talking, and he seemed incredibly knowledgeable about, like, pretty specific aspects of foreign policy related to the Middle East, and listening to him talk was very impressive. Maybe I'm setting a too low a bar or whatever. Like, it's possible that maybe, yeah, whatever. But yeah, I was just impressed by that. And maybe I am too disillusioned because Trump is such a fucking blithering idiot that he seemed impressive. But yeah. Okay, sorry, go on.
No, that's pretty much what a lot of Russians used to think. But some things that just to be put in mind are there's a lot of Putin's failures. Like within his reign, there was the cursed submarine disaster, and a lot of Russians blame him because he was in his summer beach town in Sochi while that was going on and didn't do anything.
Wait, what was, so can you run over what was this disaster?
The Kursk submarine was a nuclear submarine that was docked near Sevastopol, which is in modern day Crimea, and basically a bunch of systems started to fail and all of the crew died.
How is Putin responsible for this?
Because what his critics say is that he is responsible for acting slowly to it. So essentially, like a nuclear 9/11 happened for Russia near the Crimean Peninsula, and he was just, chilling in Sochi without doing anything.
Okay.
And another really big disaster is all throughout the 2000s under the Bush administration, NATO is now on or very close to the border of Russia.
Sure.
So,
what could Putin have done to stop that, though? I mean, against the West.
Well, that's the thing. It's the disintegration of the Russian sphere of influence.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, like, especially like post collapse of the USSR and Cold War and everything, like, it seems like the West kind of won that war. Like, what is Putin supposed to do?
Well, I mean, the whole point of like a Russian president is if they want to keep their space between to get as much space between, Moscow, the Russian heartland, and their
US.
border, they have to constantly expand or have associations to keep it going. So that's been a considerable problem, and it's one of the reasons why Putin is acting so aggressively now. Another thing, Dan's telling me to keep it moving, so I got it.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sorry, real quick. Like, I understand that, like, maybe you could argue this is like a failure of Putin, but like, damn, like, when your failure is that you couldn't defeat like the U.S. in like foreign policy games, that's a pretty high bar to set. No, like,
I mean, that was their entire shtick for like most of the 20th century.
Okay.
This is a big one. So the West, and even I fell for this when I was first learning about it, but the loss of Ukraine, that they grabbed Crimea and the Donbass region, that was, to the West, that was just blatant imperialism, just grabbing it because he can. But the only reason why that happened was because essentially the previous president was a complete puppet for Putin. So he grabbed 10%, around 10% of Ukraine, while losing around 90% of it, where most of its fuel, coal, and population is in exchange for Crimea, which gave him a temporary political boost to the point where it's a huge financial loss. And Russia doesn't have a very good future in the making. So they've constantly got to deal with things like population decline, more and more reliant on resource extraction. The future is bleak, and it seems like Putin is pissing away what funds they do have on things that won't pay off dividends in the future.
What are they? What could Putin have done differently? What do you think like he could have done differently?
What most people believe that
Bring
Putin
it,
could
gang,
have done
we ride
differently
together,
is
we
simply
die
provide
together.
more of the existing subsidies that he was doing for Ukraine at that time. So up until 2014, Russia was giving yearly subsidies essentially to Ukraine and places like Belarus and Armenia and other countries like that are on their border, so they can keep a sphere of influence on them, kind of like what they're doing in Chechnya. The problem is those subsidies weren't as popular, and if he gave out more subsidies, he could have lowered the unrest that was going on in Ukraine at the time to keep it. So I mean, he traded 10% of Ukraine for 90% of it.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't the point that Crimea is more valuable and identified as Russian anyway, that there's a lot of people that live in Crimea that more closely identify with Russia than Ukraine, so it was like an older territory to keep because of those like historical reasons?
The main reason why they wanted Crimea was purely strategic. The population stuff is really neat and good for them, but the problem is all of the water, electricity, roads, transportation, that connects to Ukraine.
So it has to run through Ukraine. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's incredibly expensive to build all that stuff up for Russia, which they have done, which is dwindling their funds as is. And
if Trump manages to get rid of NATO, and Putin helped get Trump elected, that would make Putin a successful mastermind, though, right? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so Putin still got hope.
Still got hope. All right, I see who you're rooting for.
All right, well, boy, it was good chatting with you.
All right, have a good day. Also, just want to let you know, I gave a lot of money through YouTube Red, even when I wasn't a sub. I've been watching on YouTube Red for like 2 years. So,
thanks,
thank
dude.
you very much.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
How's it
man?
going?
Pretty good. How are you going?
I'm doing pretty good. What did you need? You already got my name. You needed my title, Twitch Prime, and it's December 1st. So, the other thing, so my question is going to be, Cenk Uygur. He's going to be running in a purple district as a progressive. And how likely do you think him winning is? And what do you think would improve his chances?
I have no idea, and I have no idea. I'd have to look at the district. I'd have to see what the polling is right now. I'd have to see who won last election cycle, and then I'd have to see what the people in that district value, I guess.
All right. That was
What district is he running? Like what city or area in California?
I had that information. I closed it, unfortunately. I think it's the 19th or something like that. Cenk.
Do you know what city that is or whatever, or
district? I just knew that it was purple, and I thought generally like progressives. I wanted to try to steer the conversation in terms of like, what progressives can do, like to actually win these kinds of districts in general, or like is it
Simi Valley
pretty
and
much
Santa
up to?
Clarita. Okay.
Is it pretty much always going to be up to moderates to like sort of win those particular seats?
Well, I mean, it super depends on what those people like lean towards, right?
Yeah, like political polling in terms of the policies and that sort of shit.
Yeah.
My worry is that I really like his confidence. However, if the policies don't necessarily match up, if he's going to try to sort of ham-fist through and just try to win off of talking versus, actually kind of moving a little towards like what policies, like for example, like if you have Medicare for all, for instance, right? Like the issue that's going on in the United States.
something more like what Warren is doing, like saying, okay, well, first let's get sort of a 2-tier system in place, which is what Canada basically did, right?
Okay.
In order to make it acceptable. So do that instead of like just go straight for like what Bernie Sanders is doing, and it's just like Medicare for all the way.
Okay.
That's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing that I noticed, like during your poker tournament, which I really enjoy because like I absolutely fucking love the game.
Mm-hmm.
You made sort of a play. So here's what happened. There was like 4 people in the hand, right? They all put in about 2 to 3 times the blind, and you decided to fold. You were like 10 big blinds. You had like 10 big blinds left.
Okay.
Do you think that was the correct play?
What with the hands? What did I have?
You had like suited connectors.
And I had 10 big blinds, and there were 3 other like big bet. Yeah, it was probably a good fold, right?
I would have actually gambled in that kind of position just because of the amount of money that was actually in the pot, personally.
Well, if other people have raised the pot, they're representing good hands. If I shove it there and all I have are suited connectors, there's a good chance that I'm already behind somebody else in the hand if they have the ability to eliminate me, and the stack size is already low, and they've already got odds to call. It seems like I'm playing for elimination, like pretty hard there. Like I'm gonna get fucked like most of the time, no?
Possibly, but my argument to that would be that they are representing higher ranges by calling like that. So they'd be all like ace king, maybe like a high pocket pair, that sort of thing, and there'd be potentially some overlap there. So a lower range might be able to come in, and it's just like one bet, right? You see the flop, and you're essentially coin flipping at that point in time. And then
you're talking about just calling instead of like going all in or whatever? Pre-flop?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it, but with only 10 big blinds, like calling for a flop is pretty weird. Especially because if I call and somebody else like re-raises, like I'm fucked so hard. Like I don't know, pre-flop, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Pascal.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, bye.
So one thing that I was thinking about going seeing like Ben Shapiro live or whatever and just talking with them. I know like you've had some kind of like interesting insights on the abortion debate.
Yeah.
And as I understand, you're like pretty much pro-life, right?
Kind of. I flirt between the two right now, but what about it?
So, like for me, like the argument, like I get it. I mean, like in our ideal world, like obviously, like nobody would ever have to like make that decision or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, I think the strongest argument is that like people need to be able to have like autonomy.
Okay.
Like basically to decide what it's like. It's almost like like people say like, oh well, you kind of got to do like what's best for people, and like you can't kill somebody or whatever. But it's like, are you like kind of effectively killing somebody if you don't like give them your blood? For instance, like if you had a rare blood type and somebody needed your blood to live, like is that grounds to take that from them?
Well, let's say that you can go into a building. Okay. Let's say you can go into a building called the Giant Funhouse. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say that when you enter that building, before you enter that building, you agree that there is a 2% chance when you enter that building that if you enter that building, you might have to be hooked up to somebody else who's going to need your body to live for 9 months. But you're going to have a lot of fun in the building, right? If somebody enters that building and then all of a sudden they're hooked up to somebody else, then after they're part of the unlucky 1 out of 50 people, they get chosen. Well, you got to blah, blah, blah. Should that person be like, well, hold on, no, fuck that shit. I'm killing you. Like, fuck that. Or would you say, well, no, they kind of knew the risk going in. They basically consented to it, unless they got raped or something. Should they be allowed to kill a person?
Yeah, but I think it's more than that, though, because like the repercussions on the individual who's forced to like, basically change their life entirely or whatever.
Yeah, but you consent to that before entering the funhouse, right?
I mean, does everybody actually consent to that?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you have sex, you acknowledge that there's going to be a statistical chance that you get pregnant, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I get that, and I agree. I think that there's like, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I understand the argument, but for me, it's more like even if somebody makes that mistake or whatever, it's like you still don't have. I think you still have to say like, yeah, people make mistakes, but maybe they don't calculate the odds or they didn't understand the odds correctly. A lot of people are also under that impression where like, like there's a thing where like if somebody knows what they're doing, obviously it's like they're less culpable or they're more culpable than if they don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And I think that's the case for a lot of people, is they just like literally don't know any better, you know.
I mean, most people, as far as I'm aware, know that when you have sex, you can get pregnant. I don't think that there are very many people that have sex that don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as like knowing that you can like get in a car accident when you're driving. You know what I mean? Like nobody actually thinks that like, oh yeah, today could be my last day driving a car.
Okay.
You know, and like most people like live their lives as though that isn't going to happen. You know, because it's like.
But you still have to take responsibilities if things happen while you drive a car, even if it's not your fault, or not your fault or whatever, right? Like if you skid and accidentally hit somebody, or even if somebody hits you from behind and you hit somebody else, like you have insurance to cover those situations because you have to take responsibility for it, right?
Yeah, that's a fair argument. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's I think that's fair. I mean, that's, you know. Yeah, like I said, I'm not decided one way or the other personally. I'm kind of like back and forth on the autonomy thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, can I just like make one comment on something somebody else said?
Go for it.
Basically, like when the guy was saying like the education was like should be left to the free markets or whatever. I think that like that's all well and good, and in cases that already is the case. Like, education is very much left to the free markets. If you're rich, you can send your kids to a private school, you can get them private tutors, etc. But like I think the role of the government is to provide a baseline for people in which like they have some amount of access that's like sufficient to allow them to like still quote unquote succeed, should they like be, you know, born into like an underprivileged you know, household or whatever. So
sure. Okay.
All right. Anyway, thanks, dude. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, have a good one, bud.
All right.
Hello.
Am I on? Okay. I have kind of a weird question, but I know you don't deal with like emotes a lot in your chat, but what do you think would you agree that having certain emotes in your chat can sort of change the way chatters react and behave?
Yeah, sure. Get to the point. Is there some autistic emote that we need to remove or something? Do I have
No,
those
so
still? Okay.
The point is, I just think emotes like too spicy or like Napa or like, see, nobody ever uses those emotes unless it's like there's like an explosion or like a bomb on the screen or there's like a Hispanic person, right?
Napa,
why
I think
does
is
it
okay because I think that's just, isn't that Nathanias? That's not like a Muslim or anything, right?
That's just.
I don't know.
Yeah, Nathanias is okay.
Know.
Napa, I think is okay. Too spicy, maybe should be deleted, maybe.
And then I also wanted to ask about like the grug emote.
Yeah, isn't that like our
do you
squad
think-
W holdover or whatever?
Yeah, but do you think? I don't know. Do you think that's kind of negative having that in chat at all?
No, I think it's a good meme.
Because like it's just, I feel like a lot of people use it as like a placeholder for like something misogynist. So like
Don't
something
we usually use it
happens,
to like make fun of like misogynist people? I thought. Is that
well, that's the thing. Some people use it to make fun of it. Some people do it like unironically. You know what I mean?
I guess I'll keep an eye on it and see how it goes.
And also just like Pepe mods, like I feel like that just adds like a lot of negativity to the chat where like someone comes on stream and it's just like Pepe mods, like people just spam that because they hate them.
Maybe,
Right.
but I mean, like, I think it's okay to have some emote for like this is stupid. Like, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. That's all. That's just all I wanted to say.
Okay.
And also, Yi wins.
Okay.
Boppers, name, rank, occupation. Go. Well, question.
Hi, my name is Boppers. No, I'm actually Tulsi Gabbard. I served in the military, by the way. My rank is Commodore.
Fucking A. All right, what do you got for us, boppers?
All right. Well, first I want to say I agree with the last. Feels weird, man. Pepe mods, bad emotes. They're usually used in bad faith. All right. Real question. What do you think about? So you seem you agree with deplatforming people, but you seem to have like a fairly laissez-faire way of dealing with like internet communities. You think like for example, I think a few days ago you mentioned something in terms of like instead of banning words, you want to let like communities kind of shape themselves, right?
Yeah, real quick, because I get misquoted on this all the time. When I don't like deplatforming, when I talk about deplatforming people, I don't like bad faith actors and people that grossly misrepresent information. That's it. I don't give a fuck about hate speech and all that shit. That's not what I talk about when I talk about deplatforming. If
Right.
you want to be a KKK or be on Twitter, knock your fucking self out. I just don't want people that lie and spread misinformation or fake news. That's what I care about. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, completely get that. Okay, so one of my big concerns is when it comes to like I know this is kind of like a meme topic, but social media monopolies, right? Like a handful of like algorithms, like social media platforms having a huge sway over culture and like the way we talk about politics, all those sorts of things. What do you think about like nationalizing like social media? I don't have a firm stance on it. I'm just curious what you think.
I don't have a firm stance on it either, and I'm like right in the middle. I could go either way on it. I'm not sure. On one end, yes, and on the other end, no. So, you know, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
My worry is that, like, imagine somebody like fucking Trump in charge of the government where we have like nationalized social media. Like, Jesus Christ. But then on the other hand, the idea that social media companies right now can effectively just like totally shut you out of every conversation ever is also pretty scary. So yeah, I don't know. I could go either way on that for sure.
Yeah. Have you heard about the genocide in Myanmar that was like heavily facilitated by Facebook?
Facilitated by Facebook? I haven't heard that, but I know that there's a genocide going on in Myanmar right now, yeah, that nobody talks about.
Well, yeah, there's a genocide going on in Myanmar, and they're like military personnel, like Myanmaran, I don't know, but they were like posing as like innocuous like Facebook commenters, and it didn't like there's no like direct connection, like but it had a huge effect on public sentiment, right? There was like propaganda, like for the people in Myanmar, like a lot of people there even get like Facebook confused with the internet, like because it came like pre-installed on a lot of the phones that like are sold there. So yeah, like the social media campaigns and like insane amounts of propaganda, like super racist propaganda, like heavily like had a huge impact on public sentiment, and it was like facilitated by the government.
Okay, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's like a super interesting topic, and I don't know if it really gets discussed well like enough. And when people do discuss it, it seems like kind of discussed in a very like dude bro way. I don't know. I'd be interested in having greater discussions about that, because it is super complicated, like you said.
About having social media things like nationalized in general?
Yeah. And then also like the negative outcomes that come with like privatization, like YouTube can just throw like some algorithm out and throw it, you know, across their platform, and it has like it can lead to like all sorts of huge and culture. I don't know. It's very discomforting.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really hard one, and I think there are really good arguments on both sides of that debate. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Yi wins. Yeah, we all know this. Cool.
Okay.
Hey.
Hi.
So I have a couple things to talk about. And it's mostly about gaming, because I've been seeing a lot of decline in gaming. I don't know what the fuck you're playing here, but a lot of the games you play these days, I think it's really, I don't know, it's getting really bland, I think.
Okay.
So I last time I was here, I was asking you about if you're committed to playing Sekiro and playing that to the finish, but you ended up not playing, so maybe I have some suggestions.
Okay.
If you're willing.
Hit me up. What do you got?
Okay. All right. So I don't know if you heard about this channel, but it's called Outer Heaven, and they play like a lot of Kojima
Bunch
games,
of Degenerates 3.
like 24/7.
Okay.
And yeah, they know how to like play a lot of MGS 1, 2, like every MGS games, and they can maybe guide you through, or you can set up something to maybe collaborate. I don't know. Like I know you talked about playing MGS games before, but it kind of never happened. So maybe in the future.
So what am I doing? It's just to help me play games, or?
Yeah, I mean, I want like a really good games and like go over the topics in the game, maybe like, or the classic games like Final Fantasy 7. Did we ever play that on stream?
Yeah, I did. I did a whole full playthrough that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. How many years ago was that?
I don't know, but I think it's all up on my YouTube channel. So.
Okay. All right, I'm seeing the chat. Like, I have really bad public speaking skills, so people are just saying I'm crying or something. But I'm sorry.
No problem. Fuck them.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you about the games. Yeah. I mean, MGS games, they have so many good topics, so I would like to really watch that on the stream and see your reactions. And Maybe hopefully catch that on the YouTube channel. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, maybe someday. Okay, I really want to. I think it'll happen. It just hasn't yet, but I really want to. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
49
Okay, thank
months
you.
of Twitch Prime memes. Love you, buddy. Less than 3-3.
What am I supposed to tell you? My rank. I'm a tier 1 shitter. My occupation is sourcing cute goth girls to post in chat. But the question I actually have is, Destiny, you're a lot more politically literate than me, I guess. So I thought I'd ask you this question because it's something that's been sort of plaguing me for a while. In Scotland just now, obviously in the UK as a whole, we've got like the whole Brexit shit going on.
Oh yeah, you guys gonna leave or the UK?
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is one of the issues that I'm sort of facing is even with all these votes going on in the UK, Scotland, where I'm from Scotland, like we have such a diminished ability to. The power of our vote is a lot weaker than the power of an English vote, for example, because of the disparity in population. So, for example, there's like 60 million people in England, whereas there's only 5 or 6 million in Scotland. So, even, for example, if all of Scotland voted on an issue and England voted on the opposite, basically we wouldn't have had a say in it whatsoever. Because I'm just wondering, what do you think is like a... You don't have to speak specifically to the UK's issue, but what do you think is like a way to handle that as Scotland, I guess, or as a country that's got a lot less say in a vote, for example?
I don't know for your thing. In the U.S., we solved this with a bicameral legislative body, meaning we have 2 separate legislative bodies. So in the U.S., we have issues where we have massive states like California that has like tens of millions of people in it, and then we got very small states with like, does Wyoming have like 600,000 people? Hold on. Very, very, very small states. 5, yeah. So the way that we solve this is we have part of our legislative body gives people votes kind of based on population, and then we have another legislative body that gives you votes just based on being a state. There must be something like that in the United Kingdom that gives like Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, Northern Ireland, like some kind of like weighted representation, right? There must be.
Well, we have what's called devolved powers, so they allow us to control things like, say, our education, our healthcare. And that's why our education, healthcare, and other things in Scotland is so much better than the rest of the UK. But when it comes to sort of overall big countrywide decisions, or when it comes to things like foreign policy, or in a lot of cases, we just tend to give sort of voted out. In it. For a good example is the whole Brexit thing. So I think something like 51% or slightly more than 51% voted against leaving the EU. But because the majority of England voted for leaving, essentially, that 51%, it was mostly irrelevant to the vote. So our entire country sort of beholden to whatever the UK as a whole ultimately wants to do, and in cases where we might feel like that's not the best thing for our country, which is why we want independence in the first place.
For sure, yeah.
But I don't know. It's something I constantly worry about in terms of the future of the country, because I believe that Scotland could be fine on its own as an independent country, and maybe as part of the EU, or hopefully as part of the EU. But it's difficult when you have to contend with like the likes of Westminster and the overall UK vote on things. But I don't know. It's a difficult one to deal with. You feel kind of powerless to it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. That's a rough one.
Yeah, that's the sentiment, at least I'd say in Scotland, is that's why we want independence. It's not just like a fuck the English type thing. It's more so that we want more say in what happens to the country, and we don't necessarily want to leave the EU, which I don't know if that's even going to happen, or Brexit's been a fucking shit show. But yeah, that was all I really wanted to ask, is just if you had any opinions on that kind of...
I mean, good luck. That's my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like. But yeah, thanks, man. I've been watching you for a long time. I've been on Twitch for I've been on Twitch and JTV for about 10, 11 years now, so I've been watching for a long fucking time.
Okay.
Yeah, no, thanks for talking to me about it.
Yeah, that's sick.
Also, Pepe always wins.
Damn.
True. He wins in the end.
True.
Pepe
all right,
wins
thanks,
or
guys.
cheats? All right.
Well, no. Pepe wins. He do a poll. I bet you Pepe wins.
Uh-oh.
So too. All right.
But yeah, thanks, Destiny and Dan for bringing me in.
Yeah, have a good one, man.
You too. Cheers, guys.
I just had a question about the abortion argument that you kind of put forth earlier.
Yeah,
I was actually going to talk about something else, but so I'm just wondering, like,
Real quick, that wasn't an argument for or against the total position of abortion. That was an argument against somebody saying that if a fetus is treated as a human, we would still say we could execute it because it's using our blood without our consent. That's what that argument specifically addressed. Now, you can still make arguments that a fetus shouldn't be considered a human or blah, 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 in which case that argument doesn't apply. But okay, go for it.
Well, the person who was talking before went down the like route of if you're in a car and you're driving, like you take that responsibility or whatever.
Sure.
So what would you say if somebody like broke into your house? Would you have the right to defend your property?
Yeah, of course.
So you could like shoot them dead.
Mm-hmm.
So that person like still has a right to life though, right?
No, they forfeit that when they come onto my property.
They forfeit the right to life?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I guess I could see how they're forfeiting it, but like
So I'll just say something quick about the abortion thing. I think that the argument the first guy made about how even if you have a right to life, that doesn't mean that somebody has a right to use your body. That's like generally correct. And then what you said, like your response to that with the funhouse thing wasn't quite correct. So like I'll use the example of McFall versus Shimp. It's like a often cited example. Basically, McFall had a plastic anemia. He needed bone marrow. His cousin Shimp was a match, but he refused to let McFall use his bone marrow, and he refused to let McFall use his bone marrow. And McFall sued him to make him let him use his bone marrow, and the court said that no, actually Shimp can like has a right to his bodily autonomy and whatnot. So in the case of the funhouse, you're saying that because you essentially consent to let somebody use your blood, right? Because there's a 2% chance or whatever, that therefore, like so too with the woman, she consents to let the kid use her uterus. So imagine the case of McFall versus Shimp. If Shimp had said that he would let McFall use his bone marrow, but then afterwards decided that actually he didn't want him to keep using his bone marrow, we would still probably say that he can like disconnect himself.
Yeah, but there's a difference. Like we're talking about like
yeah, of course.
Going,
of course there's a difference. Like this doesn't end the abortion debate. That's just like
no. I mean like there's a meaningful difference that makes us disanalogous, right? Like the person, you can't compel somebody to give bone marrow when they never consented to it. Like there's no reasonable expectation that you should have ever entered an agreement where you say like, okay, well maybe I have to give bone marrow to like some brother or a match or whatever, right?
Sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. I'm saying that if Shimp consented to let McFall use his bone marrow, but then after he was connected, he said, actually, I don't want to be here, and asked to be let off, you probably wouldn't say that the government can like force him to stay connected. Even
well, it would depend if he initially consented the entire way. Like if you consented the entire way, I agree that I will allow this person to use my bone marrow until they've completely recovered. If you sign that agreement, then you probably shouldn't be able to revoke that halfway through. That should probably be an agreement you have to follow through, I guess, I would say.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I don't think very many people would agree with you on that. Like I've never even heard of a philosopher who'd made that argument.
I don't understand why you think you would be able to revoke it. Like you're essentially, if you agree, let's say somebody's life is contingent upon your agreement, and you do agree to do it for the duration of however long they need it, a year or whatever, and then halfway through, like, fuck it, actually, I'm going to renege on this agreement. I don't know how you could see that as not being immoral. You would have to be forced to follow through.
Like consider the counterfactual, right? So
Yeah.
let's say that Shimp doesn't let him use his bone marrow at all. McFall just dies.
Sure.
Let's say he does let him use his bone marrow and then revokes it. McFall dies. Why is that any worse?
Because in the initial one, you never agreed to have any responsibility over it at all. But in the secondary one, you did take some responsibility. And you should see that through to the
But
end.
you're begging the question now.
No, you're not begging the question at all. Let's say, for instance, a friend says, a friend says, I need a ride 10 miles away. Can you give me a ride? And I could either say no, or I could say yeah, and then halfway through the ride, like, drop them off and be like, fuck it, never mind, figure out the rest of the way. Like, if I don't take any responsibility whatsoever, then fuck it, that's your thing. That's not my responsibility. I've never even agreed, even slightly, to take on the responsibility to give me a ride. But if I'm going to give you a ride, well, now I've assumed some responsibility over it. If I get in a car accident, I'm responsible if you get hurt. If I drive like a lunatic and you throw up, or I need to be careful of your mental well-being, and I can't just like quit in the halfway and be like, well, fuck you, I'm dropping you off, I changed my mind, I don't want to do this ride anymore. Like, yeah, I have an obligation to see that obligation through, I think.
So yeah, I think that's like the much stronger argument, but I just want to point out that it's a different argument. The first argument was that, or like, let's use McFall versus Shimp, right? That Shimp consented to let McFall use his bone marrow and then retracted that consent. But now what you're saying is that imagine that Shimp put McFall into a place where he was in need of the bone marrow. So like, just as the woman like puts the baby in need of her uterus, it's not that she consented to let the baby use her uterus. It's that she
But
put
you-
him in a place
but
of
no, no,
need,
you do-
Right?
you-
I think that's an important distinction, and I
But-
think you're making a strong argument.
Well, you do concede that you consent to the uterus existing and using your shit. Like as soon as you have sex, you consent that there's a possibility.
100%.
Okay.
But I'm saying that we don't. It's like, think of it like correlation versus causation. If both these factors are present, like the consent and the putting in need, we can't say that one of them is necessarily the reason, is necessarily like the morally relevant one, until we like come up with thought experiments that tease them apart. And so, like, just to give you one example of the way we could do that, let's say that now Shimp had poisoned McFall, which caused him to get the plastic anemia, which caused him to be in need of the bone marrow. Now I think it would be much more reasonable for to say that the state could like force Shimp to let McFall use his bone marrow.
Okay.
But although I still don't think it's analogous though, because in that case, Shimp is wrongfully harming McFall, but in the case of abortion, it's not so clear. So like imagine that McFall and Shimp were alone in a room, and then McFall was choking, and Shimp had like a toxin on his hands that if it came into contact with McFall would give him a plastic anemia and cause him to be in need of Shimp's bone marrow. But there was like no one else that could save McFall. And so Shimp gave him the Heimlich maneuver, knowing that would put him in need of Shimp's bone marrow in a month, but Shimp still refused to give him his bone marrow. We still would probably say that that's okay, because essentially he's like helping him live longer. And so we would generally say the same thing in the case of abortion, that because the woman is like bringing the child into existence, she's not wrongfully harming him, which means that she doesn't have like a moral obligation to him.
Okay, we hear your argument. Thank you, buddy.
All right, go have a good one.
All right.
So we left off, you said like, if somebody walks into your house, they forfeit their right to life.
Sure, yeah.
Would you say that their right to life like is reimbursed when they leave your house?
No, I mean as long as somebody like represents like a threat to your well-being, like I think that they forfeited like quite a bit of, like that you have right to take action against them if you want to.
Yeah. You have a right to like take action against them, but I don't think that their like human rights ever really went out the window.
I mean, not all
Right,
of the
so,
human
like-
rights, sure, but I'm saying like if somebody kills you, they'd be justified in doing it. But go for it. What about it?
Right, yeah, they'd be justified. So it's more of like a balance of like rights and trying to rectify when rights come in conflict, which I think is kind of like where the abortion argument stands, is we have two rights that are in conflict, right? A fetus's right to life and a woman's right to her bodily autonomy. And like, how do we get to decide to rectify them? And I think like if you go down the route of deciding that you can't have an abortion, you're kind of making a step in the direction that's like non-enforceable. Like I don't know where your position would be if you took the pro-life stance. Like what should we do with women who want to have abortions? Like should we not allow it? Should we ban it? Like what would
I mean,
actually be the
realistically, I
reasonable-
don't think we should ban abortion. I think realistically we should probably always have it. Otherwise, you get into like really weird areas. Like pragmatically, I don't think I've ever been in favor of banning abortion.
Yeah, okay. I guess that's everything then.
Okay.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, I love you, bye.
All right, quick question for you. So you supported like NORD once upon a time, right?
NORD. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, like NORD VPN.
Oh yeah, sure.
So do you think you should stop supporting that company because of like the leaks that would happen and all that?
I'm not sure yet. I don't really know. I don't have a strong opinion on it, but I haven't done any promotional deals with them since. What about it?
Would you like would you want to like, should you like research things more before oh, there's a lot of people talking about in chat. So basically like NORD, they kind of leaked their root like VPN key. Bunch of bad shit happened.
Yeah, one of those.
And like it took them a hell of a long time to like get that shit.
I heard that the response time was pretty standard for the industry. I don't know if that's true or not. Cake might know.
It's kind of hard to say. The fact that they have no monitoring on their systems
Mhm.
for like if someone gets root access is kind of sketch.
Mhm.
And the other thing is that key that was exposed was never revoked officially, like through a certificate revocation.
Mhm.
So they just kind of let it die. So if anybody had that cert for the time it was valid, they could have used it to be NordVPN.
And basically man in the middle year or whatever.
Yeah, somebody. I mean, you'd have to be a pretty big power to do it, but you could become NordVPN
Sure.
and get people to like connect to your endpoint. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think the onus is on you to like research these products before that happens? Like, I know there's not really a way you can do that.
Yeah, of course, a little
especially with
bit. Yeah, of
something like
course.
this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all I really had to say. Also, Weebs in.
Hello.
Awesome. Thanks. I just had a question. It was something I thought of a while ago and was interested to see what you thought about it. I noticed I had an idea that it seems like culturally we've sort of developed this idea, like sort of aversion to sort of intelligence in general.
In America,
like,
yeah.
You know, yeah. Well, like I feel like even sort of a bit broader. I mean, I'm from Canada, so I mean, we kind of have a bit of influence from you guys.
3 you buddy.
But like, so when you watch a TV show, the smart kid's always kind of awkward or whatever.
Okay.
Or if you if you're talking about New Year's resolutions or something, you could say, "Oh, I want to go to the gym," but like you say, "Oh, I want to get smarter." That's a weird thing.
Sure.
I just wanted to sort of know if this was something you've noticed as well.
Yeah,
or
this
if
is always
kind of
this has
something
been
I
like common in American history for some reason. I don't know why. We just don't care about intelligence very much, or it's seen as like a feminine trait almost.
Yeah, yeet.
What is kind of approach you think people should take to try to, improve this scenario?
I don't know. I mean, I think intelligence is cool, but yeah, for some reason it's not seen as like a very masculine trait in the U.S. It's just a cultural thing. I don't know how you would like change that. I'm not sure what you would do for that.
Okay. Would you be in favor of something sort of like more mandatory sort of philosophy courses at schools, like before university level, or a sort of critical thinking type?
Yeah, I think those would be
course?
really cool. I don't know if we would ever do it, but yeah, I think that kind of shit would be like super awesome. Yeah.
Meow.
Okay, cool. Well, that was a bit faster than I thought. I have another couple things if Dan will let.
I'm afraid I would, but there's too many people waiting.
All right. Can I just give a game recommendation?
Go.
Check out the tabletop RPG called Paranoia. It's a game where you serve your friend the computer in protecting Alpha Complex against mutant commies traders. So you might find it interesting.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you
Be
very
careful.
much. Thanks.
Hey, what's up? Tier 1. Yep, Tier 1. I was just wondering, like, I'm working as a substitute teacher and I'm in a long-term position right now. And I don't know if you know or any of, like, your old teachers or anything like that, or if you ever had any teachers that really influenced you or anything. Do you have any, like, recommendations as far as, like, reaching these kids?
Smack the shit out of 'em. Just really go to town on them.
Yeah, I'm in a public school. I don't know if that'll... I mean, I guess there are a few I want to do that too, but I'm not sure. But I'm like, just personally, like, just to elaborate, I kind of fell into this position. I've never like been like that big into teaching to begin with.
I really like the idea of like respecting students. It seems a little corny, but I don't know. It's hard to say because like I can tell you things that I like, but I don't know if like all kids would like them. Like I had a few teachers that would refer to us as like Mr. or Miss, like by our last name. I thought that was interesting. They would try to be somewhat respectable students. And then having passion about what you're teaching, I think is also like really important too. Like if you really like or enjoy whatever thing you're talking about, I think like that definitely bleeds over to students.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm trying to go like kind of go about it honestly, because I have a degree in geology, but I'm in this long-term position for a biology class, and I was never big into biology, but I have the science background, so they're able to throw me in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to just like be honest, but I don't know if I'm actually getting through to anyone. And I mean, my grades compared to the other teachers are good. I don't know. Like I personally never like had a teacher that was like super influential on me. Like I could barely like remember any of my teachers like going through school. I don't know if like I should really be shooting for that or just be shooting to like go for grades. I don't know.
I mean, if the grades are good, I mean, that's one indicator. I mean, you could also just ask the students, like, what do you think I could do to make you guys become more involved in, like, the educational process or something? Like,
yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't know if, like, I know that you kind of had a unconventional sort of education background. I don't know if you, like, have any teachers that, like, really stuck out to you or you're kind of in the same boat as I am where you just sort of is...
my band teacher stuck out to me a lot. That was probably the most interesting teacher that I had. The things that I remember about him is that one, he was super passionate about what he was into, so he could do everything really well. He could play all the instruments, and he knew his theory really well. I enjoyed that.
Okay.
That made me respect him a lot. Two, I don't know if every teacher could get away with this, but he commanded a lot of respect. He didn't ever really give demerits, that was like our punishment thing. But he was disappointing him felt really, really, really bad. Like for instance, we had, because band was the first class in the morning, because he took it like ultra seriously, like he made everybody show up like 40 minutes early to school to rehearse every morning.
Oh wow!
Yeah, if you showed up,
I guess that's something you can get away with private school.
Yeah,
probably not.
If you showed up late to, this is like for like a month before competitions, he would do this. If you would show up late, typically showing up late to your first class of the day is an automatic detention at my high school. If you showed up late and you were like setting your instrument up while everybody was like getting ready for rehearsal and stuff, he would just walk up to you and he would tell you to pack up your instrument if you weren't going to take it seriously, and then go have a study hall. And stuff like that would actually make you feel so absolutely fucking horrible. Like worse than like any demerit or detention or whatever. Because like the idea of like disappointing like Mr. J was like one of the worst fucking feelings in the world. It was so bad. So yeah, I don't know, like that guy commanded a lot of respect, I thought, and I really enjoyed that. He seemed to be like really focused on what was important, and he didn't really give a fuck about like what he considered like dumb rules. Like I remember before our AP Music Theory exam, this is maybe a little extreme, but we were nervous about the listening section, the sight singing section. I remember he'd said something before he left the class, and it was something like, if you're not, like remember guys, like if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I remember he said that and then laughed and left. I don't know if he meant that or not. I also know that like a lot of kids would like, I say a lot of kids, me and some friends would sneak into the band room and we would play like video games. We'd bring like a was it a PS2 at the time? And we'd play like Tekken and shit during church because we didn't want to go to mass. And anytime he would sneak in and see us, he would just kind of laugh at us and then just walk away. He didn't seem to care about shit like that, but he was really big on like being at rehearsal on time, making sure you're practicing your parts. Yeah, and stuff like that. I don't know. I appreciated that. I like that he cared about like what the like really important shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson. I think that, you know, I think maybe because I'm not going to be there. I'm there for the next like 3 months doing this job, and the teacher's going to come back. Maybe they think, you know, oh, I'm just the sub or whatever. And you know, I really shouldn't think that about myself. I think it's kind of a personal issue that I need to deal with. But I think that you bring up a good point about like sticking to some very important issues and making a big issue of those and not sweating the small stuff. I think that's some really good advice.
Sure.
All right, buddy. Well, it was good chatting. Right. I'll be back to check in on what you think about the Robber's Cave experiment. I don't know if you ever got the chance to.
That's not like Plato's Cave, is it?
No. This is we were talking about competition over scarce resources being the source of group conflict majority of the time.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. This was back when you were going through your whole N-word drama, so I figured it kind of got pushed to the wayside. But
gotcha.
I'll send you a link about it if you want to chat about it next time.
Good luck. A lot of people don't really consider this, but I didn't have this experience, unfortunately, but a lot of people have had an experience where one teacher in like grade school sometimes can set a kid down a totally different path in life. There are a lot of people that are like engineers or something in college that are like, yeah, you know, when I was in 7th fucking grade, I just had this teacher that like really pushed us to get interested in this particular thing, and that one teacher like got me interested in some particular subject that I either hated before or didn't care about, and that's the reason why I'm like a materials engineer today, or why I'm doing my master's in something. So like, yeah, it can be like, if you do it well, it can be like a really, really important job. Like a really vital job.
I that's the thing I really do like about teaching is when you do actually like reach someone, and you know, like I get paid shit. I stay after school. I don't get paid for it. It's teachers, especially like sub teachers, you know, who are filling in like this, are getting kind of a rough deal. But I mean, it is rewarding, and I think that what you're saying is definitely true. And I'd love to be the guy who like sets someone on a path for biology, but even me not going on that path, I feel a little bit disingenuous. But
sure, you can also do the opposite too and ruin a kid's passion for any topic that you teach as well. So there's always the pressure on their side too.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, appreciate the chat, Dan. As always, it's a pleasure when you're in the room.
Aw.
See you guys later. Bye bye. I'll let myself out.
See you later, bud.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, friends? Long time no talk.
Yeah, holy
Get this guy out of here.
Oh, boy. All right, ignore that kid.
What's up?
All right, so first question. How come you claim to be pro-life when you aborted Gimu in the 3rd trimester?
Well, the problem is that Gimu became cancerous, and we get rid of things like tumors and ectopic pregnancies and all sorts of irregularities like that all the time when we know that they're not going to be viable outside of the womb, and Gimu definitely was not viable outside of the room, so we had to abort. I'm sorry.
I didn't expect a real answer to a meme question. All right, can I ask my real question?
Yeah.
So when you're obviously do a lot of like new business ventures and that kind of thing. You try out a bunch of shit. When you're doing that kind of thing, like let's say you're trying to publish content on a new platform, what kind of like metrics do you generally use to determine not necessarily if something is successful, but when it's time to like completely pull out or abandon a project?
Oof. That I don't think there's ever going to be like a direct answer to a question like that. This is all going to be like highly variable based on what exactly it is you're looking at. Can you give me like an example realm, and then we can kind of like analyze
Sure.
it a
So
little?
yeah. So like one thing I've thought about doing is I'm a network engineer by trade, right?
Yep.
And I feel like there's a niche where for YouTube specifically, but maybe some other content or rather platforms as well, where I could publish content that's educational in nature that goes beyond what the existing niche is.
Mhm.
How do I know? Let's say I put in a bunch of time creating this kind of content. How do I know whether or not it's time to say, stop doing it entirely? Like, let's say I do it for 6 months. What kind of growth should I be looking for during that time? When can I say, okay, cut it out? I'm done with it.
What do we normally expect on ROI, Dan? Is it 2 years to make your money back?
It depends on what you're doing, obviously. Right?
There's not like a standard like bullshit.
For a brand new content creator, keep that in mind.
Oh
too.
wait,
like
and
if you
for what industry? Exactly?
For like any type of investment, I don't know. Isn't there like a standard, like if the ROI, like for instance, if you made all your money back on an investment in like 1 year, like that would be considered like really good, right? Or like in a few months, that's like insane.
Well, yeah, I think it depends. Like riskier shit, you want to make it back faster.
Of
Less
course.
risky shit, like for instance, buying real estate, you're okay.
Yeah, okay, you're right, you're right. You want to be compensated adequately for risk and all that. For like YouTube stuff, I would look at like what could you be doing, and then how much money are you losing based on what you could be doing, and then try to compare that, like try to project your growth and see if it's going to pay itself off in some time. But that's going to be based on like, man, there's a lot you have to weigh. Oh man. So like for instance, you have to factor in like how much are you being compensated for the work you're doing, and that compensation isn't always going to be material. So for instance, maybe you make those self-help YouTube videos and you're not actually making that much money, but you really fucking enjoy it. That counts for something, you know?
Oh sure.
Yeah, that's stuff that you have to take into account as well. Man, the metrics, it would be like, there'd be like a brutal financial calculus to it as well. Like if you start to see that like, okay, this is going to take like 7 years to become profitable, like, and you don't enjoy it very much, you're probably better like investing in some other venture. You see that you can start like turning it into like a sizable income in like a year or two, and like it can replace your main income in like 3 years. 3 years investment in a side project, that sounds pretty good to me. But you might want to weigh other factors like, do I want to have kids? How old am I? Do I want to be in this industry? Like there's a lot of other things to consider too. Like it's the problem is that there's a lot of variables, and a lot of these are very personal, right? Like what time horizon are you comfortable with? How much happiness do you derive from a given project? Like these are all things that only you can know the answer to, and you have to figure out how to weigh these variables. Yeah, sorry, it's really complicated.
Yeah. And the other habit I imagine is because you're an existing content creator, it is naturally easier for you to branch out to a new platform and do that kind of thing. Whereas if for somebody like me who would just be getting started, that's much harder. I'd imagine.
For sure, yeah.
All right, last question, I promise.
Yeah.
Who the fuck do I talk to about a name change? I feel like I've done my time, haven't I?
Wait, you could have just asked me, right?
Or me.
Really?
Yeah. No, Aghanim and I talk a lot on the side. You could have just like hit me up. Yeah. What do you want it to be?
I mean, not this.
What is your name? Like Aghanim the lying bitch or something? What is it? Wait.
It's Aghanim with a B.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, I thought you wanted to keep that.
What? Oh, Agadum. I got it. Good one.
All right, have fun, buddy.
Yep, have fun.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
I don't know. We're about to find out.
No, I just had a couple of quick questions. So, have you had a chance to watch The Mandalorian?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, but you've watched all the Star Wars movies?
Yeah, the main ones, not like any of the side ones. Oh, I guess the main one's in the Solo movie. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, did you watch Rogue One?
Yes.
Ah, okay. And you like that, or?
No, I hated it.
Okay. I was gonna get you to like rate like maybe the top 3 Star Wars movies because you have like such a bad food take. I was wondering what your Star Wars take is.
Empire Strikes Back is probably my favorite, I think. And then it would be probably probably Return of the Jedi, and then whatever the first one was, A New Hope. The easiest way to figure out people with shit Star Wars takes are going to be the people. This might be you. There's a group of people out there that go, Episode 3 wasn't that bad. I thought it was actually pretty good. Those are the worst Star Wars takes. Do you agree or disagree?
I mean, yeah, for the most part.
Wait, agree that that's a bad take or that is your take?
No. I'm like with you on like the first 3 movies were the best, just for the arc.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can really say is like, yeah, the CGI and stuff was good in the first 3, but that's
absolutely not. I totally disagree.
For its time,
even for its time, it was impressive, I guess, for its time, but like it was way too.
I mean,
it
the
was
pod
more
racing.
The pod racing was actually done, but he got obsessed with CGIing everything, and the backgrounds are very dead looking. Like, I would highly recommend taking a look through like episode 1 again and just like paying more attention to the backgrounds. And man, they're bad. Way over CGI'd in those movies. I don't know if they built a single fucking set for that whole movie.
But that came out in like the year 2000 or something, right?
Sure, but it's pretty rich coming from a guy that's on the record, saying like, I think CGI and shit should be tools to build a better story and not a crutch that people rely on, when that definitely seemed to be the case in the first 3 movies, or like in episodes 1, 2, 3.
Okay, and what are your thoughts on Disney taking over the Star Wars franchise?
I don't have strong thoughts about it. I guess it's kind of weird that Disney owns so much shit, but I mean, what are you gonna do?
Okay. That was like essentially about it, but I was gonna ask, did you get invited to Twitch Rivals this year for League?
No.
You didn't get invited?
Nope. Why should I have?
Oh, okay. I mean, I feel like it. There was like a fair amount of small time streamers, and you seem to be a relatively large one and heavily involved in the League community. So
I don't know if I am that heavily involved in League. I go through periods where I don't play for like a long time. So
I mean, you're fairly consistent. It's either that or some like other game like Kenji or whatever you're rotating in and out, but League's always been consistent.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for your talk, buddy.
Well, thanks a lot, buddy. Where are you from?
Cheers. I'm from Australia.
Oh, shit, okay.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah. Do you ever plan on visiting Australia? That's another question.
I don't know. I've thought about Sydney or Melbourne. I don't have any friends there. Just find me a girl there and I'll go down, okay?
Okay, dude, my sister's available, so...
Stop. Yikes. Alright, have fun. Good luck.
Cheers. Cheers.
Amelia Shuko.
Hey, Dan. I just want to say, why does Ram say anime encourages pedophilia when he's named after an underage anime character? Double standard Scrug Debbie.
Is he named after an underage anime character?
Yeah, Ram.
Who's Ram?
He's a maid.
Oh, are you sure that's what he's named after?
Yeah, for sure.
Has he actually
See, like,
said
everybody's
that?
saying true. Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. Good question.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I hope you have a comfy day and keep up the good fight, Dan.
Thanks.
These commies. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm from Germany, and I'm like part of these weird, like marginalized leftist academic group that apart from the rest of the radical left, we like are very supportive of the state of Israel because of our past and so on. And when you were talking about foreign policy and about Bernie Sanders and stuff, how you criticize him because he wanted to do like this isolationist policy, and you thought it was something bad, but with Israel it was like a good thing. Maybe you can talk why you think it's like that, or why do you like to support an appeasement policy with the regime in Iran that is like denying the Holocaust and threatening every other day Israel with its destruction.
Wait, what? Hold on, wait. What is the question here?
No, like your thoughts on the role of the USA supporting Israel on this.
So the U.S. supports it.
The Middle East.
Yeah. So the U.S. supports Israel because Israel is our ally in the Middle East, right?
Yes, and the US is the only major ally of Israel in the Middle East, so they depend. Israel depends on the US.
Okay. So the U.S. supports Israel because Israel is an ally to the U.S. in the Middle East, in a sea of people that aren't considered our allies often. So that's the only reason for that. What is your broader question, or what do you mean?
No, well, like for Israel to be in a state in which it can guarantee the safety of its people, it needs these it needs like big allies, because Israel is like a very, very little country and the only Jewish country in a region with a lot of threats for Jewish life.
Okay.
And so if
Wait,
the
is that really true? Do you think? I mean, I'm just curious. I don't know if Destiny knows either. I don't think Israel, like, it's good that Israel would say it's probably good the United States supports them, but I don't think it's like if we stop supporting them, they're going to get rolled over.
If Israel had zero official support from the United States, and then other countries surrounding them, especially like Iran and shit, started to support anti-Israel interests more, I think Israel would be in trouble for sure.
Yes, because now we're like seeing that now that Assad pretty much lost control over his country, or now it's regaining it, but with help of Iran, and Iran is like mobilizing a lot of military stuff.
I'm just, what exactly is the question here? I'm just not sure what the...
Yes, earlier you talked about how you said, or I don't know if it was the guy you interviewed, that said that it's a good thing that Bernie Sanders has a different stance on the relationship between the USA and Israel. Because...
oh, that we should be a little bit harsher, condemn them a little bit harder for their stance on, like, Palestine and for violating human rights.
Yeah, and my question would be if you can say to what extent this should be, if there should be like if you want a shift in the relationship to Israel, how would this look like?
Probably just holding them accountable more for like things they do in Palestine, I would imagine. I don't know if that would come in the form of like sanctioning like arms from them, or I don't know, like, or economic sanctions or something, I guess. Like I don't know how much else would you pressure them? Yeah.
The question is, can you even pressure them on that at all? Because all of those things are way less important for the shit that Israel does for us, right? Like, what are you going to do to punish Israel when you're so fucking reliant on them?
Well, we're not ultra reliant on them. Like, it's not like we
Sure,
need,
but we're
I mean, like,
more
they're-
reliant. We like, are we going to blow up anything we do with Israel just because, like, you know, they do shit on the West Bank or something? It seems highly unlikely.
Well, yeah, of course not. But like, I mean, we could find ways to punish them so that we have like a better record on like so that like we don't get grilled by like the rest of the world so much, right? I think there are ways to pressure Israel economically to get them to fuck off from the more extreme shit. No?
I don't think we can put them into place without having our greater goals risked, right?
I don't think
If
it's a
we're
big
sur-
risk to like U.S. policy to have Israel not like being so fucking crazy about the way that they deal with Palestine. Do you...
So the issue, I don't think that that's a big deal, but I would say that trying to get the U.S. to change anything with this just seems unreasonable, because it's so down our totem pole that any of the punishments that we give to Israel are essentially neither us nor Israel is going to really give a fuck. It's literally just going to be like trying to save face for people who care about this. Like, you think we're actually going to do anything to hurt Israel to really make them like be like, oh shit, oh fuck yeah, we really can't do like settlements in the West Bank anymore? No, of course not, because then Israel is going to respond, wait, I'm sorry, do you not want us not to like share intel about X or Y or do this anymore? You know, like, so I think it's highly unlikely we're ever going to have any change there, because it's just not a priority for the United States.
Maybe. I disagree. But, like, I think there are ways to pressure them without, like, destroying the entire fucking country or something. Do you disagree with that? Or do you think that, like, any pressure we put on them has to literally be, like, catastrophic, like, world-ending shit?
Well, I think any pressure that you do, if it has any significance that it actually bothers Israel to a certain extent, either they'll essentially, you know, Trump-style retaliate to a certain bit, like, or they won't, because it won't matter. And I don't think the U.S. is willing to risk any of those things.
Okay.
I mean, that's just me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, sure, we can just like fuck Israel a little bit, and they'll be like, oh, all right, I guess it's worth it. Maybe.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, that's everything.
Okay. I love you, buddy. Be careful.
Bye. Thank you.
Hey, Destiny. I just wanted to know why you've been talking so much shit about MMT lately.
I don't know. Oh god. Anything else? Is that really what you want to talk about?
Nothing too in depth. Just it seems like every time it's brought up, you just kind of be like, "Oh, MMT, fuck this."
Because I don't think MMT makes any like insanely like profound claims. It's just I don't know. Like,
do you think like the general distinction it makes between like, the
I
difference
love
in
you
a
swing by red
currency
chat and
issuing
say hi
sovereign nation
sometime.
versus like a household and how they like budget debits and credits is like useful to know for like the average person? Or do
wait,
you
the
think
difference
just,
between what and what?
a currency issuing sovereign nation like the U.S. or
Okay.
whatever, and then like how you would imagine like how a budget works from like an individual or household perspective.
These
So like
are
a lot
things
of
that
people
like
be like,
anybody that studies normal economics will understand. You don't need anything about MMT to understand that transaction or the differences between the two.
I think like a lot of the general electorate probably don't, but as you discussed earlier, I think a lot of people are dumb. But what about the part where instead of necessarily leaving like the Fed up to be in charge of the whole dual mandate thing, we sort of leave fiscal policy up more in the hands of Congress than it already is, and sort of use inflation as like a limiting factor, but then we can really target things like unemployment or welfare and
Fed
things
is
like
already
spending
supposed to do
for-
that, and the idea of leaving the Federal Reserve up to like fucking like people that are trying to run for re-election, that sounds fucking horrible.
Do you think that it's not worth maybe like the potential benefits in terms of being able to pay for things like Medicare for all, if that's what?
I don't think that like. Fuck, hold on. I'm a goddamn monster, okay? The idea that like we can, I don't like. If we want to pay for Medicare for all, we can do it. Like, it's just a political decision to do it or not to do it. I don't think that having the Federal Reserve like in the hands of Congress is going to like significantly change that or not. Like, people will still argue over whether or not we should balance the budget, regardless of whether or not.
Sure. Do you think it's even like worth like even as like a rhetorical device for like people always come and be like, oh, how do we pay for this, or what about the debt or all these other things? Do you think it's even worth bringing up the concept of MMT in general, or do
You don't
think
have
we
to
should just
talk
bypass
about
all that?
MNT to talk about like paying for the debt. Like, the Federal Reserve is able to issue currency.
Or paying for Medicare for all or like other shit. Not
We already
necessarily
do
just-
that. We already practice it. We run deficits. Like, we do that. We have a national debt. We do that. We don't need MMT to describe any of those transactions or any of the way those systems function. Like, it's things that happen right now. Like, and we can
Sure,
explain it
but
all.
do you not feel that even among like politicians and in Congress today, there's not like a large group of people who who like aren't aware of that, even though we necessarily like practice it already?
Yeah, but if they're too stupid to know it like now, I don't think they're gonna like magically learn it under like MMT or whatever.
All right, that's fair enough, I guess. I just wanted to say as well, as a Twitch sub, all the other Twitch subs wanted to let me know to tell you that we really enjoy the league content and to keep up the.
Okay. Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I love you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right. So based on the conversation
Anyone
you
feeling
guys were
live?
having earlier, what I want to know Dan's opinion on like BDS movement.
Dan's opinion on what? On the BDS movement? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, so right now it's just illegal. Where it's not across all the United States, right? Boycotting Israel.
Just for reference, BDS is the fuck, I forget what it stands for, but it's people basically protesting Israel and boycotting it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, but it's an actual law to a certain extent. I'm not sure. I forget what it is.
It's a law in some places. It's interesting. There's a lot of weird shit going on with it.
I don't necessarily think it needs to be a law.
I don't think it
Meaning
should be a law. I think it should be just like people's practice, if anything. Like people choosing
Why am I
to
fucking inting?
do whatever they want with their money. Oh shit. Yeah, I don't think it should be a law. It should just be a group of people doing what they want. But what's your actual opinion? Do you think
Well,
that's a
I don't
good
know.
thing? Do you think it's a bad thing?
Obviously, the government has the right to restrict its citizens' ability to do commerce with other countries, right? So we don't allow U.S. citizens to like buy shit from North Korea. The question goes, can we do the reverse of that, saying that you can't stop people, or you can't refuse to buy from here? I mean, that seems different to me. So yeah, I don't know. It's very challenging. It's probably it's like a holdout thing from, I guess, when Israel was much more, I would say, vulnerable than it is now. I understand that Israel has a lot of neighbors that don't like it, but it's a big boy now. I think that of all the countries in that region, I think it's more than willing to take care of itself if it needed to. I think it's more technically advanced than its neighbors. I think that for the most part, it's probably militarily more advanced than its neighbors. I'm not worried about Israel. I don't think it needs to have, some small leftist, portion in the United States refusing to buy from them. I don't think it would matter to them in the slightest. It's probably just a holdout. Like, how many people are really gonna boycott shit from Israel when we can't even boycott like Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, that's basically.
Well, wait, hold on. I could be wrong, but I thought that BDS shit was to get like entire states to like say no or something. No? Or is
It eventually evolved into that, but originally it started as just a group of people, I assume, boycotting it because they didn't like practices that were going on in Israel.
Well, there's laws essentially. Yeah, but anyways, yeah. Am I saying because I'm Jewish? No, I'm saying that there shouldn't be a law protecting. I don't think we need a law saying you can't boycott Israel. I think it's pointless. I don't think that's needed.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
And for reference, by the way, I'm Jewish too. I've got no love for the current government of Israel though, because I do think you mentioned that Israel's a big kid now. Like I think the U.S. needs to do something under a leftist government to somehow rein in like far right wing Israel. Because Netanyahu's kind of nuts.
Well, as long as America is like a Christian country, I don't think that's very likely to happen.
That's a fair point.
So yeah, there's too many people, huge donators to American politics that, are like crazy religious, and to them it's like, the second coming of Christ only happens when the Jews have their land. So I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, crazy shit. Anyway, my internet's shitted up because of a snowstorm. I gotta go. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, have fun, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So it seems like you don't want to discuss this, but I'm bringing it up anyways. On the abortion debate, I have a different take. I think that there's no real inherent value to a human life, so you should be able to kill the baby just because there's no necessary reason you shouldn't be able to.
Amen.
However, you obviously can't go around killing people. I think there's 3 differences between why you can't just go around murdering people and why abortion should be okay. One is that there's like emotional connections to relatives and other people for a person who's outside of the womb. I think a baby doesn't necessarily have those connections. And therefore,
wait, should we be able to kill people that like live in the forest alone or that don't have any friends or family?
So that brings me to 2 other reasons. One.
Well, wait. So we can discard this first reason entirely. This reason means nothing. Okay. So what are your 2 reasons then?
No. So the other reasons are that also we need the perceived safety of a law, that you can't just go around killing people. Babies don't necessarily. Babies won't feel safer.
What if Republicans perceive like fetuses as people? So a law that like lets you kill fetuses actually accomplishes that. That it is a law that seems
Well, you would make the distinction. You'd say once they're outside the womb, you can't kill them. That would be my distinction, at least.
Okay.
And I think we could agree that a baby doesn't feel any safer because we have a law, or we don't have a law saying you can't kill babies. And the third one would just be the killer himself probably is desensitized to violence and other stuff if you're killing someone. But I don't think killing a baby necessarily has that same thing, because an abortion feels more like a medical procedure, and you're not really the one performing it. It's more like a doctor doing it, so I don't think that necessarily is the same thing.
Okay.
So I think that's why you wouldn't be able to kill normal or any other person, but someone in the womb, none of those reasons apply to it. And unless you're saying there's some inherent value to human life, I think therefore you should be able to kill or abort babies up until whatever they come out of the womb.
Gotcha. Okay.
What do you think about that?
I think most of these I don't think are good. Like, but I don't know. I don't really want to get into a big like abortion argument right now. Like.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that you can play games while having a conversation like this.
Well, a little bit. I mean, we're not really talking, right? All right. I guess I'm
not really, but
How much do you hate abortion conversations?
All right, I love you. Bye.
That because you seem to say that the government could have gone in and like made it.
You made it sound earlier.
I know for a fact that's not true.
You made it sound earlier like Bolivia's press definitely had the ammunition to